Ugh. Check. Testing. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Free Will. This is Tony Scardino. This week, we are going to get right into it, and I am going to tell you that therapy has done it all wrong. I had a little revelation in my brain in the last few days, and I'm like, fudge, yes, I'm doing the episode on this. Therapy has got it all wrong. Well, two sides of this. We're going to talk about trauma this episode. And we're going to talk about how therapy and indulging in your trauma is the wrong way to do it. And we're going to talk about how just getting over it, that's just life, is also the wrong way. We are going to talk about the balance, and I am going to disprove therapy and the macho way of getting over things. Both. I'm disproving both because our goal as conscious human beings is to use our free will and to reprogram our mind and create the reality we want. Let's get into it. We are going to talk about this concept called epigenetic memories. Epigenetic memories are memories within our DNA. So I've brought this up so many times. Our DNA is like a code. It is our own language, a language that intelligence is required to create. And within this code, we go through lessons and experiences to fill up that code, to get more knowledge, lessons, and experiences to get to our higher self. So, these epigenetic memories, these are memories that are stored in your genes from ancestors. So I've even mentioned this in the past, that our ancestors in our past create who we are today. Those are the lessons and experiences in our genes, what make up our DNA. And I'm going to go straight into a video. Billy Carson, huge inspiration of mine, huge universal thinker that I follow. He explains this very well, and he was the one who brought this up to attention to me. So I'm going to have him take the lead.
The first thing is we have epigenetic memories. That's been proven now scientifically. I remember when Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about this over 20 years ago, the epigenetic memories being passed down from ancestral trauma, and his own peers laughed at him. They almost ostracized him from the community, from his own scientific community. Now, fast forward 20 plus years later, it's taught in universities.
Wow.
They've done all the scientific studies. They've discovered that in every single one of us, 15 to 20 years of generational trauma is being passed down. The memories, the actual memories are coming in through the RNA on the father's side into the next generation.
Damn.
And so what's happening is you could be a person that's got what appears to be a great life. I'm doing good. I got my career. Everything's going phenomenal. I got a lot of opportunities. Why do I feel depressed? Why am I anxious? Why am I angry all the time? It might not be you. It could be your ancestors' trauma in your body.
Wow.
A lot of people don't understand this. Like, for example, why are a lot of African American people extremely angry and frustrated and depressed? Well, 15 to 20 generations hasn't even passed yet from what happened with slavery. I mean, it's just a fact.
Right.
All right. So these memories that are stored within us, these memories affect our hormonal system, thought processing, emotions, and these all collide with the ancient, our ancestors' thought processes, emotions, and hormonal system. All of these things, they lead to what we call PTSD and depression. So before we get fully into it, these genetics, these genes are fixable. This PTSD that we carry on from our ancestors, this depression, this anxiety that we have from our ancestors, this is fixable. This is not something that we ponder on. We don't want that. This is the negative energy necessary for us to grow and create. This is free will's theme, is growth, getting to your higher self. So this is fixable. The trauma is fixable. Science proves that in 21 days of positive affirmations, every single day, thinking positive of yourself, telling yourself, positive things. Oh, I can do this. I'm good at this. Oh, I like what I see here. These positive affirmations, 21 days. Like we know it takes 21 days to build a habit. This is what it takes to reprogram. So your DNA, your code that you have within you is reprogrammable. This is now bringing in the theme of the matrix that I talk about, how living in the matrix is living in the programming that you were born into. You're born and you live in a set of environments, social conditions, a set of parents, siblings, friends around you, the experiences you have, the environmental experiences that you have that program your mind into thinking the things you think and believe. And we talk about how the deprogramming is getting rid of all of that and starting from the beginning and reprogramming what you want to program it. So this is a huge theme for free will. To reprogram is to change your DNA, and this has to be done in the present. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to get into the sciences of the epigenetic memories. Wow, how is this even a thing? What are you even talking about? You heard Billy Carson. This is a topic that's now taught all over the universities. They did a bunch of scientific studies. Science has now proven that we hold up to 14 generations of these memories within our DNA. And they've done this by observing, by doing experiments of observing the genes. But I'd argue that we hold an infinity amount of memories in our DNA because my favorite thing to say, we are energy. Energy cannot be distorted. It can only be transferred. So our energy has existed since the beginning of time with all of us connected because we're all energy. So our DNA holds this code from the energy, the energetic field for infinity. We are the energy connected since the universe. There is no distortion. So this is why, going back to Billy Carson, what he was saying, how, certain people are angry for certain things that they can't even explain because it was their ancestors going through that trauma. One of the science experiments, as an example, they took a gene and then they made it glow by augmenting it. Then they watched it replicate 14 times, holding its glow synthetically. By having this gene as an example of what it has done, it showed scientists that this is the same replication process that we go through as humans or animals. And this is why we hold PTSD in the memory of our genetics. How many generations can a DNA test, like my ancestry, test? They say up to 50 plus generations. But now going back to the start, the beginning of how I was saying that this is fixable by reprogramming our minds, this takes a conscious effort. So this is a huge theme for this episode, conscious effort, free will. We need to have a conscious effort to change our programming, to reprogram. I saw a video as an example, and we have this famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, basically sums up how the person from the poor family, doesn't matter how hard they try to get rich, they're never going to make it. And the person from the rich family, it doesn't matter how stupid they are, they're probably going to make it unless we have the conscious effort. So the way environmental and social environments impact us and program us, like how we were saying with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if I was born into this, I'm most likely going to be like this. We need to have that conscious effort to become aware and to change and to reprogram. I'm going to pull up another video to lead into this topic. This one I enjoyed very much.
There's been significant studies that show that the thoughts, the emotions, and the behaviors of both parents, moments to hours to days before conception, cast the first genetic die. In other words, if the parents are living in an environment that are highly stressful because there's danger, or there's poverty, or there's fear, the fear then is put into the sperm and the egg as information, and it begins to influence the development of the child so that the child can face the same environmental conditions as the parents for better chances of survival. The blood flow of the mother is in constant communication with the child, and her thoughts, her feelings, her actions, her view of the outside world further influences the development of the fetus. The fastest path to enlightenment is raising children, because you have to be the very thing you want them to become.
So catch that ending right there. I'm going to repeat his quote. the fastest path to enlightenment is raising children because you have to be the very thing that you want them to be. I loved that because, he was adding in the epigenetics, how the memories, how the feelings of, the parents carry on to the offspring. And we've talked about this so many times in the episode of monogamy and so forth, of the family unit is the most important thing for our success. It is what builds a person individually. Like he said, you have to set that example. And that's not only behaviorally because of just how the kid is going to grow up and be raised, but it's physically in our DNA how it affects your offspring. He said it days up to hours before conception, how the parents were feeling at the time creates the first genetic die in the offspring. So taking on these memories, say up to 14 generations of memories, why do you feel this fear or phobia? Like, ask yourself, why do you have this fear? Not because you just caught on to it from your family, but because literally it is in your DNA. And this is the negative energy required. You need the fear to recognize the love, right? You need the fear and phobia to go through the challenges to then create the positive ending for the beginning. But it cannot go away immediately. And I'm referencing now my last episode of anxiety. This isn't something where you just go, oh, it's cured now. This takes work. It takes self-work. That's because you need time to reprogram. Brought it up 21 days just to create the habit. It takes time to reprogram ourselves and to continue on this journey working on ourselves for growth. This leads me back to a quote said by St. John. If one wants to be sure of the road they tread, one must close their eyes and walk in the dark. So we need to walk in the darkness to truly know the path. You will truly know your path once you know it blindfolded. And this is a good thing. This is the test. This is one of our biggest lessons on why we came down to earth and why it is so important to find ourselves, because we're getting to that point of truly knowing ourselves, even with all of the programming. It is deprogramming and reprogramming and achieving that state of free will. So today we have this mainstream self-work and self-healing. This is what we can call therapy, mainstream therapy. They're doing it wrong. It's done wrong. And this makes me laugh because I remember even just a couple years ago it getting so normalized and publicized of therapy, where I'm scrolling through TikTok and social media and I just see these ads of, do you have anxiety? Well, therapy this. And you have all these influencers, advocating, oh, everyone needs therapy. You need therapy. And it sounds like a great thing, right? Therapy, talk about your problems and this and that. And then you have the other side where they're like, no, you don't need therapy because you're being you're being weak. And I will say I was an advocate for therapy. I thought it was a great thing until I saw this video, until I realized therapy has got it all wrong. It was a Joe Rogan video off of one of his podcasts. We're not going to play it because, that's long. I'm going to sum it up for you. They were talking about how the number one symptom of depression is rumination. Rumination is the pathological obsessing over your pain. So think about it. When you go to a therapy session, or when people go, they're sitting there weekly or even twice a week or bi-weekly or whatever, and they're sitting there, they're constantly talking about their problems. They're constantly saying, well, I'm sad because of this, and I'm sad because of this, and family, and this happened to me. And they're constantly pondering on the bad things that have happened. Bringing in the law of attraction, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to help us manifest. We're manifesting the past over and over and over again, and continuously creating the past as our present. They brought up in the Joe Rogan episode how simple things like exercising, running errands, and just getting out of the house and feeling a sense of accomplishment is better then obsessing over your pain is better than sitting around and talking and thinking about your problems. Because sitting around and talking about your problems, it takes 21 days to create a habit. You've created a bad habit. Now, even in the podcast episode with Joe Rogan, they mentioned, yes, there are good therapists. The good therapists are the ones where the first thing that they try to do is break that habit, break that bad pattern. But a lot of the therapists, they just indulge it. They say, you have trauma and let's keep talking about it. Now, I can go down a little rabbit hole and say they've probably done so in a way because if you are healing people, then there's no need for therapists to make their money, right? So, if they want you to come in every week and get their payout every week, they're going to have you sit there and keep talking about your problems because they're not going to get any better if you keep talking about them. So, back to the Joe Rogan, they continue to say how the amazing story in history has always been about resilience, and this creates human survival. Resilience is when an animal or a person are able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. This is back to what I was saying of just get over it. That's just life. So now you have two ends of the scale. You have the first one where it's indulge in it. You have trauma. Then you have the second one of resilience to get over it. That's just life. You have the argument between the two on how people should be dealing with these problems. Both are wrong. Both are wrong. You need to reprogram. And that requires the balance of both steps, not one or the other. We need both. Now stay with me. Because by doing one of them, by indulging and saying, oh, you have trauma, you're living in the past. And we've talked about this. We have the past, present, future. You can't change the past. Can't change it. The only thing we can change is the present. And if you're constantly making the past your present, constantly making this here, you're never going to change your future. The only way you can change your future is by changing the present moment. What are you doing in the present? Because if you're constantly living in the past, bringing in our episode of karma, this is when you get stuck in the infinity loop, the wheel of karma. Until you change, until you learn a lesson, until you grow from it, it's going to stay as your present. And again, the law of attraction. By indulging and pondering on your problems, on your pains weekly or all the time, you are attracting the traumas. Law of attraction. What you think, what you feel is what you attract. If you're constantly talking about the past, then you are attracting the past. You're attracting your traumas by going to therapy. The mainstream way. Now, let's talk about the second point. If you were to only do number 2, which is just get over it, that's life, toughen up way. You're never addressing anything, and that means you're never healing. Our goal is to heal and to change and to progress. So if you're never addressing what the cause is, what the problem is, that's why we're having and getting these epigenetic memories. They weren't healed, our ancestors. This is a memory that's passed down to us that now we have. And we need to thaw it, because what trauma is the force of impact on someone's mind, on someone's feelings and emotions. The force of impact freezes it. You're so traumatized. You're shocked, right? You're frozen. And we need to thaw it. And now we're getting into genealogy. Genealogy is the ancestors' trail, the family tree. We are a great family soul. So I was talking about how our energy is all connected and together, where all of the info is present in each one of us. It's in each one of our codes in our family tree. Because think of it this way, a living organism, this tree pulsates all the time with a beat, like our heartbeat, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. We're constantly pierced by history. A constellar and shaman, I'm going to say his name wrong, Dan von Koppenhout, quoted, "Many times we cried the tears our ancestors were not able to cry." We are mammals. We live in herds. Humans, We live in clans, groups, communities. This is deeply engraved in our biology, in our genes. Each group creates a set of laws according to the society they live in, culture participated in, the stories and pains experienced, and all of these things are done unconscious. So, how I was saying, these environmental, when you're born into something, you have these environmental and societal programming that's done unconsciously because it's just in our genes. It's just transmitting all of the information. And this brings back to that theme of conscious effort. We need conscious effort to reprogram. So the exercise, when you say, I should do something, oh, I should go to school, oh, I should become a doctor, oh, I should bring cake to my newly neighbors next door. Why? Ask yourself, why are you saying I should do something? And how do you feel? The exercise is now changing I should to I choose to. I choose to be friendly to my neighbor. I choose this career choice. I choose this career and this path I want to take. Because I should, which is done unconscious, now the exercise is the conscious of I choose, the free will. You can see clearly, and then you can take responsibility for what you choose. And now, back to that trauma, back to that family tree, taking responsibility of history. Because what's history? His story. We take different spots in our tree that don't belong to us. Sometimes we even follow the fate of one of our ancestors because they were not able to fulfill their own. Begin conscious awareness to place yourself within the tree. So now, going back to those 2 points of you have trauma or just get over it, that's life. I said you need both, and you need the conscious effort to do both. And now this is where I take down therapy. You are your best therapist. Connect the mind, body, and soul. You are the one that has all of your data, that has the code to yourself. It is the I am. It always leads back to what Jesus Christ stood for. I am. It is your reality, your free will, your conscious effort to reprogram these traumas, to not live in the past, and to act within the present to create the future you want. Now, am I saying don't talk to anybody, and don't get your feelings out? No, of course not. It's good to talk things out. We are connected, so we all know what we're going through. Like I was saying, all of these genes are present within all of us, and we have the power together to operate on love together, to bring ourselves up together. So I'm not saying therapy is bad and don't talk to anybody about your feelings, because that goes back to just number 2 of just get over it, that's life. No, we need to address these problems, and we have certain methods and ways as individuals to talk through our problems and to recognize them and address them. But we can't just only do that. We can't just only do one or the other. By operating on love, we are healing. And to love others, you must love yourself. This goes back to the positive affirmations, the good habits, over obsessing and indulging in your pain. You don't want to keep those bad habits of constantly pondering about those pains, constantly pondering about what part of the tree you got from your ancestor. We want to place ourselves into the tree and then create positive affirmations to then have the law of attraction and attract what we want and to grow and change our DNA. So it all comes back to yourself. It all comes back to this is your reality and how you have the free will to remember that you are your creator. Not what religion says on there is an external source. It is within. Christ consciousness is within you. I am. Spirituality is not searching for yourself in other people, but searching for yourself within you. And you have the free will to reprogram and change the code of your DNA. You are the creator. So I mentioned this in the last episode of anxiety. The trauma. Find, address, correct, remove. This is the balance between the steps, between the 2 points of views. We need to do both. That is by finding, addressing, correcting, and then removing. This is how we can reprogram. The past is no longer changeable. You can't do anything about it. What are you going to do now to change your future? It is up to now, the present, all in the now. And to wrap this up, back to that hard drive. This is the hard drive of our soul. So have the physical and the spiritual separate. We have the mind, body, and soul. Our soul comes into the physical to have these lessons and experiences. So you have this set of ancestors in this body in this lifetime now. And those are the lessons and experiences you need to have to fill your DNA code. Your soul, this is where we now bring in past lives and rebirth, and where your soul will continue for an infinity amount of time to go through these lessons and experiences. And this can be done in different bodies and different sets of ancestors in different ways that you create these realities in order to reach your higher self. Your soul is connected to every single lesson and experience since the beginning of time. That is our energy. And this is why we must understand ourselves in order to understand each other. This is now the unity and the separation. We must separate and have polarity in order to unify. The negative energy is necessary for the positive energy to exist. We are going through this together to continue the cycle of our energy. And this is fun stuff. We are so powerful. We are so cool. The universe is a miracle. We are a ball floating in space full of solar systems and galaxies. This is a miracle. Our life, our intelligence, our consciousness is a miracle. So let's use our consciousness into creating more miracles that we desire for ourselves. And that right there is epigenetic memories. To sum it up again, conscious effort, epigenetic memories. Science proves that we carry them from our ancestors. We need conscious effort for this to be fixable. It's not done by just a snap of a finger. It's not done by mainstream therapy and indulging. It's not done by saying just suck it up. It's done by all the steps, the balance and the harmony between these lessons and experiences of the conscious effort to find, address, correct, and remove, and to place ourselves within the family tree the way we want it to. And that's free will, baby. I'm going to wrap it up right there this week. A lot of thinking, a lot of cool stuff. I told you that I would disprove therapy, and there you have it. You are your best therapist. You have the power to create your reality. And again, that's because you're the one that knows all of the code. You're the one that can get into it. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the week. You can find me on all platforms at official Tony Scardino. Please like, rate, comment, subscribe. Link in my bio. You can leave any questions. I will respond. And I will catch you guys next week.